How you set it up?
Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Rutherford Board of Education to order. We're at the regular meeting of January 7th, 2019. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to call the roll. As all board members are either continuing their terms or starting new terms tonight, re-elected, we'll just keep everybody at the table and call the roll just the once. Mrs. Ahmed?
Here.
Dr. Olati?
Here.
Mr. Healy?
Here.
Mrs. Jones?
Present.
Mrs. Librera?
Here.
Mr. Mazzone?
Here.
Dr. Racine?
Here.
Mr. Rowland?
Here.
Mr. McLean?
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure that the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meeting of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Rutherford Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place posted on the bulletin board outside the Borough Clerk's office, mailed to the Herald, South Bergenite, and the Record newspapers, and filed with the Borough Clerk. Hard copies of the agenda are available in the meeting room, and the agenda is posted electronically on Friday before the meeting date on the district's website at www.rutherfordschools.org. Regular meetings of the Rutherford Board of Education will be broadcast without editing during a 2-hour segment, as limited by Comcast time constraints, on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. on the Comcast Public Access Channel and on FiOS Channel 38. A video of the meeting can also be viewed on our website, www.rutherfordschools.org. The video link can be found by opening the Board of Education link and clicking on Public Meetings and then Videos. Any member of the public who wishes to view a DVD of the meeting can make that request in writing to the Board Secretary. We have a typo on the agenda here. I'm looking, does anybody have any comments on the minutes of the regular meeting or the executive session of December 10th, 2018? Seeing no comments, we'll enter those into the record as they are right now. I'd like to review the results of the annual school election held on November 6th? 7th? Something? Okay, November 7th, 2018. 5 candidates for three-year terms. In order of votes received, Mrs. Ahmed received 2,464 votes. Dr. Olati received 2,262 votes. Dr. Racine received 2,098 votes. Mr. Frank Wilson received 1,512 votes. Mr. Hesham Mahmood received 1,503 votes. Congratulate the winners. At this time, I'd like to ask the 3 newly re-elected board members to proceed to the microphone for the oath of office. Okay, congratulations, all 3 of you. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and this state under the authority of the people, so help me God. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of member of a Board of Education, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of that office according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Thank you very much. Welcome back. Do me a favor, sign. That's yours. Sign here and give it back to me. Thank you. I have distributed the Code of Ethics to the board members, and we will review that in a couple of minutes. But in the meantime, if you can just sign that acknowledgement of receipt and send that back to me, I need to get that in our records, that we have reviewed this at least once a year. At this time, I would like to open the floor for nominations for office of President of the Board of Education. Can I have a motion, please? Thank you.
Motion to open.
Motion to open. Mrs. Jones?
May I make a motion?
No, not yet.
Sorry.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Mr. McLean? Okay, do we have any nominations for President of the Board of Education? Mrs. Jones?
I nominate Kevin McLean for President of the Board of Education, the Rutherford Board of Education.
Mr. McLean, so nominated. Do we have any other nominations? Can I have a motion to close the nominations for office of President of the Board of Education? Mrs. Librera and Mr. Mazzone. Okay, can I have a motion that in accordance with NJSA 18A:15-1 and bylaw 0152, the Rutherford Board of Education in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, elects Mr. Kevin McLean as President of the Board of Education, effective immediately until the next organization meeting as prescribed by law. Can I have that motion, please? Mrs. Librera, can I have a second? Second. Mr. Healy? Any questions? We'll call the roll on that one. To elect Mr. McLean as President, Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Dr. Olati?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Librera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. Congratulations.
My acceptance speech is very short. Thank you. Thank you for that vote of confidence, and I'll do my best to keep us on track as we go through another year. And thanks, congratulations to the re-elected members, and really congratulations and deep thanks to each and every member for the personal time that you steal from your friends and families and professions to be able to do this. It's greatly appreciated by the community and certainly by myself as one of you. So thank you. As soon as I can find the agenda, it'll make it easier for Joe. So we'll move to the next order of business, please, which is to elect a board vice president. I would ask if someone would move to open nominations for the office of vice president for the Rutherford Board of Education.
I move to open the
Move.
office vice president of the
Moved
nominations for the vice president.
Moved by Mrs. Jones, seconded by Mr. Healy. Voice vote, I guess, all in favor? Aye. And then, are there any nominations? Yes.
I'd like to nominate Dennis Mazzone to the position of Vice President of the Board of Education.
Nomination of Dennis Mazzone as Vice President. Thank you. Any other nominations for Vice President of the Board of Education? Hearing none, we'll need a motion to close nominations for Vice President. Mr. Healy, seconded by Mr. Rowland. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Do we need to take a vote on this? Yes. Please poll the board regarding electing Mr. Dennis Mazzone as the Vice President for the Rutherford Board of Education for the year 2019, please.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Dr. Oladi?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Librera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, which is the board meeting schedule. And in our packets was the schedule, well, actually printed on the agenda and in our packets was the schedule for the, oh, okay. With correction of the first line item, the first date, which is listed as Tuesday, January 7th, obviously Monday. And the others are all okay. So looking for a motion to approve this schedule for board meetings for 2019.
So
Moved
moved.
by Mrs. Librera, seconded by, yes, Mrs.
Can I
Ahmed?
have a question?
Yes,
on that?
please. Well, let's second it, and then we
Second,
talk. Okay, seconded by Mrs. Ahmed. And then any questions regarding?
Yeah, normally, I mean, in the past, we always had the first Monday of the month. Now it's all like erratic, you know? Sometimes we even have, there's only twice we have it the first Monday, and everything else is either the third, the last, you know, sometimes the second. But like, how come we don't have it on the, it was always easy to, this way we knew where we were coming.
Well, I think the monthly, I'll let,
Well, the last
Yes.
2 years, we've gone to, when we moved away from the work session, we've gone, which used to be the first and third of the month, we've gone to, as best as we can, a 3-week process. So sometimes there's a Monday holiday or a school shutdown, or sometimes we need a meeting date prior to a budget approval or a budget prior to the statutory date for renewals and non-renewals. So we might go a little earlier than 3 weeks or a little later than 3 weeks, but we've gone to basically a 3-week cycle.
and format-wise, as far as the meetings go, for a number of members who were not on the board as long as others of us, when we used to have the first and third Mondays, the first was the working session, and we would read through every motion, and that was the meeting whereby we were supposed to discuss, ask questions, that sort of thing, and then the following meeting, we'd read through them again and then, act on them. And so what we're doing now is to, in order to free up more time for conversation, dialogue about issues, we ask the chairperson of each functional area of the agenda to kind of guide a discussion of the motions that by the time we come here, we should all be prepared and have read through all of the resolutions so that we understand them, and if we have questions, we're able to ask them at that time. It makes it a little easier if we decide that a resolution, maybe we need some more information, rather than moving it and then getting into a discussion, moving it, seconding it, getting into a discussion, and then having to have a motion to take it off the agenda, that sort of thing. We discuss it if we find out that a motion, that we feel a resolution should not be acted on that evening, we can have the discussion and take it off of the agenda before it gets moved. So we've kind of combined the work session and the regular meeting into the one. hopefully being more efficient and again, freeing up time for some more dialogue among members. So. Any other questions or comments about? No? So we were seconded, right? So this is a roll or a voice for the calendar? I think voice vote would be fine for that. So all in favor of approving the board meeting calendar as presented with the change of January 7th from a Tuesday to a Monday? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nays? So the ayes have it. We adopted the calendar as printed. We have a student matter this evening, and so we're going to depart a bit from our standard progress through the agenda, and we're going to go to an executive session. I'll need a motion to move into executive session to discuss a student matter and brief discussion of contract negotiation. So we would expect to be gone half an hour, 40 minutes, and there may be action taken in the meeting or in the session. So do I have a motion for that? Mr. Mazzone? And seconded by Dr. Alati. All in favor of going to executive session? Aye. Opposed? So we're in executive session. Yes, so, and the way we'll do this is we'll take the board in, we'll get set up, and in about 5 minutes, we'd ask the family with the student matter to come into this small room back here, and the school personnel that are here for the meeting. And then, as I said, 30, 40 minutes will come out and continue on with the meeting. Okay, so thank you for bearing with us as we were in a rather long executive session, longer than anticipated. It is 9:15 and we're back in public session and picking up the agenda with, where are we? We approved the, I'm going to move on to that. So, so report of the superintendent.
Okay, I'll go quickly, but there are some things I'd like to get out to everyone. We had 14 high school students and 3 middle school students who were selected to the Bergen County Choir, which is a nice honor. And then we had 4 high school students who were selected to the New Jersey Regional Choir, which is all of northern New Jersey. And they'll be performing in late winter, early spring in Morris Knowles in a like an all-star choir. So congratulations to them. Congratulations to the middle school STEAM team club. They were 4th in the NJIT coding competition, state coding competition held at NJIT. There were 44 teams that competed, 88 that had to do a preliminary application to get in. So to finish 4th at a high-level competition like that is quite an honor. They also took 1st place in the South Bergen Joint Robotics competition and 1st place in the next level, next challenge competition. So they're continuing to move along at a high rate. Our CUSAC visit went very well. We don't have scores yet or reports, but all indications were that we did well. A lot of positive feedback, a lot of accommodations, some recommendations of some things to do, but nothing where it was a dire problem. We had a very good visit. And once we get those reports, I'll let you know. Tomorrow night I am hosting a forum for facilities. There's been a lot of buzz about what's going to happen there, and hopefully you can attend. It's at 7 o'clock in the high school. I'm going to present the PowerPoint that I presented here on December 10th with an even shorter narrative, I hope, about it, and have a microphone and a podium set up and say to anybody who attends, they can come up and speak whatever they might want to say regarding the facilities and the plan that was out there and the plan that some suggested modifications are being made to. I'm going to try not to answer questions. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm not going to explain why one thing, other than what I said the night here, about how it wouldn't make sense to do one thing. but I'm not going to try to tell why this is or not a benefit. We'll save that for if and when the board decides to go forward. But it's an opportunity for maybe a larger part of the community to hear what I said here at the board meeting, and for me and whoever else is there to hear what they have to say.
In the auditorium?
In the auditorium. We did put it on the Borough Hall sign board. We did put it on the Union School message board. I did email some of the people who were not school-affiliated people who had emailed me during the post-referendum time, and to inform them of the meeting and ask them if they'd spread the word. I did email a few groups of people. The group that was the facilities committee that the board had, the Save the Pool group, to say, hey, there's this forum, if you want to come. I want to try to get the word out to as many people as we could. So we'll see, but it's going to be more of me and any of you that are there listening. I'll only answer questions if it's to clarify something, not to debate, not to explain, not to sell. We'll save that for whenever we go forward with the next one. Keep in mind that if we want to hit that fall time by the end of January or or at latest the end of February, the next two board meetings, we would have to have a motion to approve the submission of plans. Now remember, if you remember the process last year, that's not approving going forward with a second referendum. It's approving is approving the architect sending any plans that are revised down for DOE approval, because that's a 90-day turnaround. So if we don't get that done by February, we're going to be up against it time-wise. Okay, so I think we're all well-versed on what we've been talking about for the last year and a half. We're all pretty well-versed on what we were talking about as potential modifications. We should be thinking about that, so that come the end of January or February, depending how things play out, we're ready to at least send plans out to be reviewed. With that in mind, I'm asking if the Strategic Planning Committee, when that gets resolved and put together tonight, if we could meet on the 22nd. I think that's a Tuesday night. Martin Luther King Day is, Dr. King's Day is the 21st, at 7 o'clock, so that we can discuss both what we hear at the forum. We can discuss what we heard at the board meeting, what we've been thinking about, timeframes, other conversations I've had and Joe has had, Mr. Kelly's had with the architect and other folks, okay? So if you can let me know, it doesn't have to be tonight, but let me know soon if that date works for everybody, because I'd like to have that meeting prior to the 28th. Matt Lee, I reached out to him about coming to do a little tutorial on the new superintendent's evaluation. Matt can come on March 18th, which is a board meeting at 7:30. He will. He said he said he can come at 7 o'clock if we want to start earlier that night. He anticipates that he would need about a half an hour. So I told him, depending on how many questions, it could be longer if there's a lot of questions. But so I told him when we get closer to March 18th, we'll get back to him with a start time if we're going to move that up. In discussions with Mr. McLean the other day, if there are other topics that we would like Matt to address that night and make it a 7 o'clock, or if you'd like Matt to come back at some other time, we could talk about that. It's a resource, and sometimes, you know, if we sit as a group and we try to do some internal I'm lost for words, getting late. And we try to think about how we operate as a board, and like a retreat. But if we do that ourselves, and it's just, you know, us kind of regurgitating what we've always been doing, sometimes it's nice to get that outside pair of eyes in, offer a couple of suggestions, which you could always reject. Sometimes those outside pair of eyes simply reaffirms that what you're doing is the way you like to do business.
But also, I mean, they see other
Right,
districts,
but you hear some good
best
things, right?
practices.
Right, but you pick up one or two changes from that, it's a helpful thing. So if you have any thoughts about that, let me know, or let Kevin know, and I'll try to see if we can make Matt come down one time if we want to expand it, or we could reach out to him down the road.
You have Union School presentation that night also, on the 18th of March?
Yeah, but that's flexible, I can move that. Yeah, I can move that, or we could bring
I'm
Matt at
just-
7
I'm
o'clock.
mentioning
Yeah, every night there's something, you know, there's between budgets but we'll, you know, we do have to get this done, because come April or so, we have to start working on this. And it's new to all of us, including me. The audit report will be also on January 28th, right? Bob Marone will be here to do that report. And I know I'm trying to go fast, but Finance Committee, whenever that gets constituted, we thought we're still, a little slower this year, but we're in good time frame anyway. Maybe before the next board meeting, if we could meet at 7 o'clock. Yeah, but we're very preliminary right now. I think we have to get moving. And see, one of the things that's happening, for those of you on committees to understand, is that we have several Mondays and other nights booked already with negotiations. So you start looking at board meetings, negotiation meetings, other meetings. It's going to be tough to get all these things in. We have, at least 3 Mondays booked, I think, in the next month on REA, if I'm not mistaken. And finally, you probably read about Park, the headlines, the Supreme Court. Let's make sure please look at our website, what we posted on the website. The State Department of Education has 30 days to appeal the decision. The Commissioner of Education has said right now there's no change. He will advise us when there's change. So although the Supreme Court said that Park should go away, it didn't really say that Park should go away. It said that Park should not be used as the graduation test, but that you could still have students take 2 tests. But then the Department of Ed said, not so fast on not making it the graduation test. So we're really we're no better off. In fact, I think we're worse off because we're going to start testing in late March, early April. And they might not even give us direction until middle to the end of February. In addition to that, our concern in the high school has always been the opt-outs, and the kids are saying, well, this doesn't really count for anything, and I already passed my high school report. Well, now they're telling people on the front page that the test is losing its punch, but we're still going to make you take it. And the scores are still going to be publicized and count, and the opt-outs count as a failure. So this, that was a goal that the board had, I believe, or the district, I forget which one, to try to navigate our way through this state testing mess. Well, we better have a lot of life rafts on the boat because the waters are getting a little rougher as we go through, okay? But we did put up on the website the commissioner's statement with the explanation that as of now, nothing has really changed until we get direction from the Department of Education, okay? So that is, you should be happy that was my abbreviated form of my report.
I'm sorry. What I was going to say later on in the legislative report, New Jersey Appellate Court on December 31st struck down the state's requirement that students must pass 2 tests to graduate.
Must pass to graduate, but said it's up to the Department of Ed to still give those tests if they want. And the DOE has 30 days to appeal the decision, and it sounds like they're going to appeal it. So,
Sound like they are.
well, because they're saying right now we want time before, right now, business as usual. Usually business as usual when you appeal something, right? If someone gets suspended, they appeal it, the suspension is stayed during the appeal, right? So I don't know where they're going to go, but right now we're in limbo, is what I'm saying, and the test day is coming soon.
Any other questions for the superintendent regarding the report? No, we'll move on to the report of the president, which will hopefully be short as well. I originally was going to ask all the Clemson fans to sit on one side of the room and all the Alabama fans to sit on the other so I could see who was smiling and who wasn't, but I don't think we can do that now. So, what I would like to do, it's been kind of a tradition, and I think it's a good tradition to help remind us. You all turned back into Joe the signature page for the Code of Ethics, but you should still, I think, have the Code of Ethics with you if you can find it. And we've had a tradition of going around the table and each of us reading the one of the Code of Ethics. I think this, for me, this is a good compass that helps us get back on track sometimes when things get a little high energy, a lot of noise. This kind of helps us settle down. This in our policy, manual, which is really our guideline for how we should be making our decisions and deliberations, and then revising our policy manual to be current with what our district needs are. So what I would like to do, this is the part of our bylaws, bylaw 0142, and it's the New Jersey State Code of Ethics for a board member. And it says what we'll do is we'll start with Mrs. Jones and just go around the table and read, in order. And it says, in accordance with NJSA 18A 12-24.1, every board member will abide by the following code of ethics. The board member will
Uphold and enforce all laws, rules, and regulations of the State Board of Education and court orders pertaining to schools. Desired changes shall be brought about only through legal and ethical procedures.
Every board member will make decisions in terms of the educational welfare of children and seek to develop and maintain public schools that meet the individual needs of all children regardless of their ability, race, creed, sex, or social standing.
The board member will confine his or her board action to policymaking, planning, and appraisal, and help to frame policies and plans only after the board has consulted those who will be affected by them.
Carry out his or her responsibility not to administer the schools, but together with fellow board members, ensure they are all well-run.
Board members will recognize that authority rests with the Board of Education and make no personal promises nor take any private action that may compromise the board.
Board members will refuse to surrender his or her independent judgment to special interest or partisan political groups, or to use the schools for personal gain or for the gain of friends.
The board members will hold confidential all matters pertaining to the schools which, if disclosed, would needlessly injure individuals or the schools. In all matters, he or she will provide accurate information and, in concert with fellow board members, interpret to the staff the aspirations of the community for its schools.
Vote to appoint the best qualified personnel available after consideration of the recommendation of the Chief Administrative Officer.
The board member will support and protect school personnel in proper performance of their duties.
I'll finish it up at number 10. Board members will refer all complaints to the Chief Administrative Officer and act on the complaints at public meeting only after failure of an administrative solution. Thank you. So those are the guidelines by which we operate. We'll move on.
President,
Yes.
Could I just add that Board of Education members are the only elected officials that are required to take this? If you're a senator, you don't have to take this. I always find that interesting, but when you go to board school, they teach you that.
Yeah.
It's amazing, but we're the only ones.
I was talking with Sergio earlier about another instance where you can tell the board operates at a level higher than other bodies. So that's very good. Thank you. And so we'll move on then to, also as part of my report, I'll distribute we had all, yes, thanks, for that one. We had all submitted requests, pardon me? Oh, yeah, you guys want one too?
No,
Okay.
no, I mean the other one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the second sheet is the contact sheet.
It also has
It also has the,
PTAs.
yeah, PTA, right, okay.
You have something on this one?
I had 4 sitting there, I don't know what I did with them. Is there another? Here they are. So with the, we had all filled out, requested participation on different committees and liaisons and representatives. And so there's, one committee in particular, the Strategic Planning and Communications Committee. Practically everybody wanted to be on that, and that's understandable because of, the high level of activity we have. We have to limit each committee to 3 people, and then the president is usually at the meetings as well, but we have to, avoid having a quorum at a committee meeting. So these, I tried to honor as many requests as I could as I filled these in, and the person in the bold under each committee is the what I'm proposing is the chair. if someone is, has a question or concern about these assignments, come on back to me with it, and we'll try to reconcile that. Otherwise, by the time we go into our next meeting, we'll operate with these. And we mentioned finance and budget, that we'll have a meeting. We wanted to have a meeting.
If we can, before the next board meeting
Yeah.
at 7 o'clock. And strategic planning, the 22nd.
Okay. I will be out of the country at both those
Okay.
meetings, but, no reason not to proceed. So, any questions?
If I could just add one thing, for the PTAs, if you could let me know, or let Kevin know, and he could let me know if there's any conflict or going to be any change, because I know Liz Forte will reach out to me very shortly to find out who the reps are. So I'd like to let her know sooner than later. So if you could, maybe by the end of the week, if there's any change, was playing in the
Okay.
PTAs, I can let Liz know by Monday. Okay?
Okay. Thank you. And then, yes,
On the members, the home office and whatever, our address and telephone number, that home number isn't available in my house anymore.
Okay.
I can't stand this stupid.
Everybody uses their cell. Yeah, nobody calls home phones anymore.
You
right?
know, but I mean, the phone's ringing all the time for all these telemarketers.
Right.
We just use our cell phone.
Yeah, that's all we do now, too. But I mean, you still have the line available, right? If it was a
No,
real, no, you
no
don't. It's
phone,
not.
I took it off.
Okay, I'll.
that's very modern,
Yeah,
What?
to get rid of a landline.
like all my
Yeah,
kids
why?
are like
My
that.
kid, yeah.
All my kids are like that. I don't want to get rid of my
No,
landline.
nobody has. We all have these phones, and nobody
I-
answers the phone when it rings.
I've had
and
this
it's a
number since I
telemarketer.
learned to sing my address. It's like,
I got to find that
I
fountain of
think
youth.
it's still.
that
I
you-
think if you call, it says the line, it's filled or whatever. But
Okay.
no, there's no phone attached.
All right, so I'll just remove it. But everybody will know that.
Just cross it off.
Yeah, cross it off.
So, and beyond that,
That's
if
why I
there's
said-
any changes or requests for
Right.
changes, please,
Yeah.
contact me. And the other comment I'll make is I'm also out of town tomorrow, so I will miss the facilities presentation, but I hope as many, the rest of you can be there as possible, to have as many board ears as possible there to hear comments from the public. So we will move on then, unless there's other questions for me. At 9:36, we will open the floor to comment from the public on agenda items only, please. There's none to be had, so we'll move on then to new business action to be taken. And Mrs. Ahmed, could you explain to us what we're going to look at for personnel?
Okay, I would like, with your agreeing, to move motions 1 through 12. 1 and 2 being retirements, 1 for Adele DiCarlo, specialist at Rutherford High School, and 2 was retirement of Maureen McKellar Holt, confidential administrative secretary, payroll in the business office with regret, effective June 30th. I think that one should be read. 3, Chelsea Fett, a resignation biology teacher at the high school. 4, Jessica Saxon, approval as assistant principal at Pierpont School. 5, Jennifer Gagas, approval for guidance counselor at Rutherford High School. 6, Monica Rizzi, and there's a change there. She's an English teacher at Union School and not Rutherford School, so please change that. And that would be approving her as a long-term sub. And 7, Joyce Kenyon, long-term sub pre-K at Washington School. 8, approve Lauren Miller, long-term sub at K Center, a kindergarten teacher at the K Center. 9, Antonio Spadaro, to approve a long-term physical ed teacher at Union, a physical substitute, long-term substitute physical education teacher. 10, lunch monitor, Elsie Russo, lunch monitor at Lincoln School. 11, substitute teachers to approve Yanini Ortega Martinez, Marianne McCann, and Lauren Miller. And then number 12 are travel reimbursements for the 13 names following as listed.
Any discussions or comments on retirees?
Yeah, I'd like to make a couple of quick comments on Dee DiCarlo at the library here at the high school. Really has really created a great digital library that's the district-wide, and she brought a lot of that to the district. I wish her well. Again, these are retirements down the road. We'll have more to say. Maureen McKenna Holt has, I said to her when she turned in her paper that no one will get paid anymore after July 1, but she's been in the payroll department for 26 years. So we will miss her, both of those folks. I'm pleased to recommend Jessica Saxon to the position of assistant principal. Jessica's done a lot of work in both building level and district level committees and various functions for 12 years here. And also for Jen Gagas, moving into the guidance role of the high school. It's always good to see folks, who come and work hard and become part of the community to move into different roles. So I with pleasure move those two for approval, and with regret, the two retirements.
Very good. Any questions? Are you formally moved?
Yeah, I'd like to, with your permission, move 1 through 12.
And seconded by Mr. Rowland? If there's no more questions or comments, I'll ask the secretary to please pull the board.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Dr. Oladi?
Vote yes on 1 through 11. Number 12, yes to all the travel reimbursements except to Sergio Oladi for the NJSBA workshop. Abstain to that one.
Thank you. Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lubrera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on then to curriculum and instruction. Mrs. Jones?
There are 7 resolutions for board member consideration under C&I for tonight. Resolution number 1 is the approval of the school calendar for the 2019-2020 school year. Resolution 2 is out-of-district placements for 2 students, totaling $29,260. Resolution 3 has approval of field trips, in which we now have 105. Resolutions 4 through 6 require the affirmation of the superintendent's decision regarding 3 HIV cases. And resolution number 7 is the approval of the overnight trip for the FCCLA Spring Leadership Conference in Cherry Hill on March 30th to the 31st. March 28th to the 29th. You usually explain what the spring conference is.
I usually explain.
What is it?
The FCCLA.
That's the Family Consumer Career, or the Future Consumer Career Leaders Association, home economics, what we used to call home economics. And every year they go down, and we've had the kids, I think the last 2 or 3 years, win at the state level and go off. Last year was Maryland, the year before was San Antonio, and go off and win on the national level. So it's all those subjects into textiles and design and family consumer science. The calendar is pretty much the format we've been following this year. We did drop one professional day to get in. Well, no, I'm sorry. We moved one professional day to November. We're putting it back in May now. So it's a standard calendar that we followed to meet the contractual requirements, the state requirements, and also work around various holidays and the like.
Very good.
I move resolutions 1 through 7 for C&I.
And seconded by Mr. Mazzone. If there are no more questions or comments, ask the secretary to please poll the board.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Dr. Oladi?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lubrera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving then into finance, if I could ask Mrs. Lubrera to take it simply because our new finance chair hasn't been in place too long.
Sure. I'd like to move 5 finance motions tonight. The first is the approval of bills totaling $3,387,063.79. The second is to approve the Secretary Treasurer report for November of 2018. The third is to approve budget transfers for the month of November 2018. The fourth is to approve the submission of the amendment to the 2019 ESSA for the amounts as listed. The fifth is to approve for the attorney of record for the district, the firm of Fogarty and Hara, for calendar year 2019 with details as listed. I move all 5 motions.
Thank you. And any questions? So these are formally moved and seconded by Mr. Racine. There are no questions or comments. Ask the secretary to please poll the board.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Dr. Alati?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lebrera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks to Mrs. Lebrera for being the finance chair over the past year. And it was out of habit that I went to her, so you'll be up next. Moving then into policy, Mr. Healy, are there any?
There has not been any
No.
committee meetings since our last meeting, and there's no motions for this evening.
But hot off the presses, I received a list of about 15 just today, policies that will be getting the policies from Strauss Esme in the next week or so. None of them seem to be of any tremendous urgency, where I think if we meet on the February 11th date with the committee that's on the committee list, we'll be able to look at these and then move them in February and March to go forward. Okay.
Thank
So-
you. Moving then into, onto building and grounds.
So there's not been a meeting, or committee meeting rather, since our last meeting. However, there are 2 items on the agenda this evening. The first is to approve the amendment to the March 17, 2016 agreement with QHC Partners LLC to reduce space available to the Board of Ed. This pertains to bus parking amendment, or agreement rather. The second is to engage into an agreement for services with French and Perello Associates to provide environmental and engineering services as it pertains to the field here at Rutherford High School at a cost not to exceed $21,270. Services should include preparation, bid specification, soil excavation, oversight, preparation of final reports and actions, and submission to the Department of Environmental Protection. If Mr. Kelly or Mr. Hurley, if you could explain a little bit more on item 1, please.
I don't know if you want.
Well, you want to, or,
Yeah, sure.
and I'd like to make a comment after Mr. Kelly explains. I'll give him the hard part, the explanation, then I'll do the commentary.
When we had that issue several years ago about the parking of the buses at Pierpont School, Link Equities, or Link HC Partners, stepped up and offered us use free of charge of the field they have just on Highland Cross, across Route 17, to park our buses there. And that's worked very well. They came back to us just before Christmas to say they need most of that space back. And so this is to allow them to do that. There's still enough space for our buses. The issue, our concern was that we have an agreement in place from 2016 with Link HC, whatever this entity is called, but the town was also using that facility, apparently without an agreement. So the town is the one who's actually out. So we're limiting, our space is limited, but it's
Same number of vehicles.
same number of vehicles.
Yeah, we're okay for now.
But this is it's still free of charge, and we greatly appreciate that.
And my comment is, this is something that we had an issue, if you remember, those of you who remember, 4 or 5 years ago, and originally we made an agreement with the borough for use of DPW property. That was a very challenging agreement. The borough stepped up, did the right thing for us, but the number of vehicles they have, and the number of trucks and plows and vehicles they had to get in and out with our buses, it really wasn't working out that well. We were making it work, and then this company came forward and they allowed us to use for the last maybe 3 years or 2 years, quite a while, this property, and now of course they want some of it back. So the good news is we have enough space still, and they're willing to let us use it. But the elephant in the room is, if and when that space goes, we have buses. So it's something that, try not to think about, but we have to think about. And I just want you all to be aware of that. Okay? Because we had no really warning that this was coming, and we had about, a 5-day notice that it was coming. So,
And under the terms of the agreement, how much advance notice?
30 days, something like that. But, they're not charging us. And
No, I'm just-
But there's not much, no. I mean, it's a concern, and hopefully we don't have to deal with it for a while. But at some point, we probably will.
How many buses do we have now?
7?
In addition, there was the addendum here. This one just came in this morning, which is why we're just walking it on tonight. This is for the field out back here. As you know, we did some environmental testing as part of the pre-referendum work. There is an issue for a spot on this. It's about, I think, probably about 40 cubic yards, I think. Is that the right?
Yeah.
Something. It's not a huge piece of it, but it is right in the middle of the field. So we're taking the steps necessary to get that remediated, get that soil pulled off and replaced. French and Perillo has been the LSRP for this particular project over the last year. So they were hired through Correct Somgen. So it just makes sense to go with them. But they're going to oversee the process. This does not include the actual soil excavation, but it does include preparing the specs so that we go out to get proposals from qualified companies there. But French and Perillo will need to be involved in the process from start to finish, and then we can wrap that up with the DEP.
And although we had some time to get this done, it was kind of open-ended till about 5 years or something, Joe. It was a while.
Yeah, we had.
But when we met with Buildings and Grounds, the decision was to let's move on it for a number of reasons. One, remember we talked about this. You'd have to basically live there, not every minute of every day for a year before there was even any level of minor concern. But nonetheless, DEP is involved. We want to remedy it so they're not involved, right? We wanted to do it if we can, if the winter stays mild, to get it done as soon as we can so that by spring, when the field gets in heavier use, it's whole. And if there is anything going forward with either the borough with the field or with anything in a renovation plan, we'd want to have the field in proper order so that it's, whatever way we go with it, it has a clean bill of health. So I think the committee decided, and I think it was the right decision, and both Mr. Chapin and Mr. Kelly, and my opinion was, let's move on this now so we get it done.
Thank you. So,
With that, I'll formally put forward motions 1 and 2.
thank you, seconded by Mrs. Jones. Any further questions? I see none. Ask the secretary to please poll the board.
Mrs. Ahmed,
Yes.
Dr. Alati,
Yes.
Mr. Healy,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Librera,
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone,
Yes.
Dr. Racine,
Yes.
Mr. Rowland,
Yes.
Mr. McLean.
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any legislative update?
Yes, just one old business one. I would just like to report that I had the opportunity to see all 3 concerts. Union School, the high school with the band and the chorus, and Pierpont School. They were wonderful. I have missed some, or seen one, but miss usually because I'm in Florida at that point, and I didn't go this year. And if you haven't seen them, it's really refreshing to see how beautifully these students play. It was a wonderful concert. Anyway, back to legislative. Mr. Hurley covered the first one on the state testing. There is now a recruiting male minority teachers. A bill in the Senate, number 703, directs the New Jersey Commissioner of Education to establish a pilot program to recruit male residents of New Jersey who are from disadvantaged or minority backgrounds to enroll in the alternative route teacher preparation program and to match them with teaching opportunities in an underperforming school. Mandatory eye exams. Senate Bill 2804 directs the State Board of Education to require each child age 6 and under who is entering a public preschool, public school, or Head Start program for the first time to have a comprehensive eye examination completed by an optometrist or ophthalmologist by January 1st of the child's initial year of enrollment in the school or program. Believe it or not, we used to do that. When my kids started school, they had to go into the school and have the nurses gave the eye exams. Promoting backpack safety. Senate Bill 67 urges school administrators, teachers, parents, and students to be better educated about potential health impacts of heavy backpacks and take proactive measures to avoid injury. They go on, but that's basically it. And that'll do it for tonight. When you see these kids walking with these backpacks, do we still keep duplicate sets in the 6th grade, 5th grade? Do we still
We
do
don't
that?
have as many textbooks.
I was going to say that's gonna come down too, but
We keep duplicate Chromebooks.
thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Jones on any of that? And thank you for reporting on the concerts. And I was not able
They were
to
wonderful.
attend any, so it's
Wonderful.
good to hear. It is 9:55. Open the floor for any public comment, and at 9:55 close the floor for public comment, as there is none. There is no further need for executive session this evening, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn by Dr.
Second.
Alati, seconded by Mrs. Jones. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.